All right. We're all live. We're good to go. Cue for the Brickyard is getting through, whatever. Who's actually watching that right now? We got Counter-Strike to watch. So let me get the stuff on the screen. Let me make sure I can hear and I can, so that's good. Very good. All right, so this is where I'm at in this slate. This is one of the more perplexing slates for me because I don't know how it plays out if people are removed from the race or removed from contention from being viable in DFS. Okay. So when we look at this race and how it plays out and combine that with the potential misprices of certain individuals and where they're at, I think this slate is extremely straightforward. And I have no real clue on how to get different. I think there's two avenues here. And it's not even two different avenues. It's just, does Kligerman work or does he not? But let me go through and talk through this, and you'll see what I mean, at least from where I'm at. This is where I'm looking. So, like, I have no idea how this race plays out if Cole Custer does not have the fastest car. I have no clue. I can't. I don't see it. I can't fathom it. I am like perplexed by it. I have absolutely no idea. I don't know why my wrist is so itchy. It's all the track marks from all the heroin I've been doing. I have no idea what happens if Cole Custer is not killing the field up and down the street here. Okay, I have like no idea, no clue. So like that's the first part, man. When we look back at these races, realistically, truly, like when we look at this is me going through some MBM stuff earlier. When we look at Xfinity, okay, we'll get to Indy and stuff real fast. When we look at the lap leader in the main lap leader, we're seeing him pretty much fall right in line at 41, 44, 42, whatever amount of laps led, or like that amount of laps led, like right there. And so like I think it'd be criminal to project Custer for anything over like 44 laps just based on history. Now, some of these races didn't have stage yellows. But when we look at these lap leaders and we look at this is like guys like Kyle Busch, real Chads outside of Dylan. And we look at the main lap leader, 46, and then we get a 24, we get a 41, 25. I think in this one there's two 20s. No, and there's the 44. This one we got 62. Well, this is, I believe it's rain shortened. And then this one's 53. And so like this race is 90 laps. Realistic projection for the highest or realistic projection for the primary lap leader would probably be anywhere between 44 and 38 or whatever. Anything more than that, I think it's pushing somebody too high. Anything lower than that, I don't think it's giving enough justice to the primary lap leader or the favorite in this race. Okay, realistically speaking, it should be a much closer, especially a track like this. It should be a much closer 1-to-1 between if you are the leader and you get fast laps. Okay, just of how spread out the field is, the drastic different types of speed, and where everybody's at. So realistically, Cole Custer's fast laps and laps led should probably be around like anywhere between, like I said, the 44 to probably like 38 laps led, and probably anywhere from like 28 to like 39 fast laps, like minimum. Like that's just the base projection, right? I have no clue what to do with everybody else because that aligns Cole Custer with right at like around like 66 points. Okay, we're gonna lose some due to yellows, but I don't know who else leads in this race. I don't see it. Okay, and so when we're looking, at least for me, I think you should, at least I'm going to be all in on Cole Custer. I just can't fathom, or I can't even understand who would take over from that. Okay. Allgaier, entering this race, we looked at, Allgaier pretty much where I stood of like, I was much more on Allgaier entering this week because I think he's probably been the most consistent, but it is Cole Custer secondly. Come on, keyboard. Let's go, brother. You were working just fine earlier. And you see, well, that sucks. And you see Cole Custer pretty much being in that same range. And so like I would just see Cole Custer being the lap leader. I just don't understand how anybody else would lead in this race. And probably the greatest like likelihood of somebody else leading would probably be his teammate Riley Herbst. But I just don't see how Cole Custer loses the lead in this race. He has such a faster car than everybody else. Clearly, it's running way better than everybody. Like, I just don't see how he loses. So, like, that's the first part of the equation, at least for me, solved. Playing Cole Custer. Okay, what else are we doing past that? Where is it? Where's everybody else at? So, by and large, or due to the fact that you're seeing the projection for like Cole Custer of the amount of laps led and fast laps and stuff. Eric Almirola at 98, brother man, we're not probably getting anything more than like 44 points from him. Okay, so like kind of removes Eric. We get to Sam Mayer. What is Sam gonna do? Starting fourth, practice laps kind of throw out because he had the damage and they had to replace the splitter. But he's in fourth. Do we see him? Even when we look at the fastest laps, when Sam came back out, the keyboard just no, come on, bro. I gotta get this battery replaced. When we look at Sam and his fastest lap, 162, this is back out after he got the car repaired. I mean, yeah, sure, it's like right there, but Cole Custer's still running faster. Also, this purple is highlighting where Ryan Sieg got back at the car for the 39 car, whatever car he's in, because Gregson started practice for him, and this is my best understanding of where Sieg got in the car. And when you look at what Sieg did, which I'm assuming is Sieg due to the fact that they just ran a long time, you see that he's averaging 161.3 just in his stuff. When you put 161.3, it's going to be right around here for Ryan Sieg. Just wanted to make that note really fast just because I was already here talking about it. So, like, I don't think Sam Mayer is going to do anything, right? Like, so we can't really project him. Alfredo is going to fall back. Like, it doesn't matter if it's 2 positions, 1 position, whatever the case may be. Like, we're not playing Alfredo in the 6K range. Okay, we're not playing Jones starting 6. Carson Quaffle is like a fringe play if he can stay in 6th place. If he loses any positions, he's removed from the DFS streets because he'll be like right at like 35 points, 34 points. So we're most likely not getting anything from him. We're not seeing AJ do anything to score over 40. Okay, so then we get to like Allgaier, which he's at 10K. He would probably be in line to be the most likely to lead outside of Cole Custer, but he starts 9th. So we don't see him leading stage 1. We don't see him leading stage 2. It would be a late, charge to the front. And even then, if he's just moving up slowly and he's running 4th all day, like he's not scoring yet anything. And he's a terrible play at the price. We get to Barry. Like, we're not playing Barry in the AM car. We're not playing Jeb Burton starting 11th. Okay. Realistically, Jeb Burton finished like 12th, and it's like just not viable. Then you get to Creed, same thing, right in like the 30s. And then you get to Chandler Smith, who's like missed price. So, as we continue to like go down and identify where the values are and why people would carry ownership or not, like Chandler Smith is clearly missed price at $8,800. Now, I don't think he would have been in play at all for fantasy if he started like 7th, but he starts 13th. He's offering place differential. We see people in front of him that he should be able to pass by. We know, Sheldon Creed, 93, whatever, is probably going to, be running 8th to 9th. And we could assume slightly better performance from Chandler Smith. So, like, Chandler Smith would probably be the other guy you're getting to. I think you would make a priority. Austin Hill, 10-5, starting 14th. I mean, I guess, if that's the case, you got money left over. Like, I don't hate Austin Hill, but then you get to Jesse Love, same thing. Like, we're just kind of looking at raw points between these guys here. So we're not playing Connor Daly, as we'll talk about the 7Ks in a second, but we're not playing Clements. We don't see the upside of Josh Williams because we see that these guys are going to spread out. We know where they're at in speed. Pocono is like an identical in terms of where these guys are in terms of speed from last week to here, from where they qualified to where they should be, where they should line up. Like Ryan Truex, Joe Kraft Jr., these guys perform the exact same. I mean, it is like I just don't see anybody truly passing anyone in this race. I don't see gigantic gains here. Maybe I'm being very aggressive with the lack of passing, but as we continue to go down, it starts to limit the amount of players who are actually viable and you can actually play here. Real chance we have Connor Daly, Clements, Williams, Parker Retzloff, Daniel Dye, Shane Van Gisbergen, Blaine Perkins, Leland Honeyman, Garrett Smithley, all score in the 20s. Like, these guys aren't doing anything. Nobody can pass. These guys are starting where they should be. They don't have the speed to fly up the field unless there's yellows and restarts, which there just shouldn't be a ton of those. And so you start like going down. So we've like talked about Cole Custer. We've talked about Chandler Smith, potentially Austin Hill, potentially Jesse Love, potentially Joe Graff in the 7K range, but like there's so many dead plays here. It's wild. Then you get to Ryan Sieg, who 73, we kind of all agree as a unit that he was mispriced. Like that was a mistake at Pocono last weekend. Similar situation here. He's $7,300. Now he's starting 27th, which I would say would be concerning if he had not ran at least this little run here, because he did get in the car. That's why we don't see him getting on the pit. And I could be wrong. I mean, I did remove slower laps here, so he could have got in sooner. But I know for a fact these slower laps are Gregson just, shaking the car down for the team. It's going to be a long, long race for Ryan Sieg to even get into the top 20. Like, these guys are not going to fly through the field, but 7,300 puts you, in the range of like, okay, close to scoring 38 points when everybody else is scoring like 29, 31, 33 raw points would be needed from Ryan Sieg, and so like, that's where you're at. And then you got Parker Kligerman, who I didn't even give value for. It's telling me to play Kligerman at 37 points. That's absolutely wild of how terrible everybody is projected to score here in this race. Everybody should absolutely fall in line between like 36 to like 26 points scored, regardless of salary, regardless of where you're starting. So like with me, that's where I'm like, I have no idea how this race plays out if like Cole Custer isn't leading, if we get huge place differential coming through, if we have people like, Parker Retzloff, who's going to the rear of the field. You're telling me he's going to go to the rear of the field, go through, half of the field and finish like 14th? Like, I cannot see that. And so like, for me, the two avenues in this race would primarily be focusing on what does Kligerman do? Because when you start looking at where salaries and where lineups are going, we've identified Chandler Smith, we've identified Cole Custer. It's telling me to play Kligerman, and so at that point, how are you ending that type of lineup? When you're building with like that, we're right at 7,500 on average. So like we don't necessarily need to punt, nor do we really want to, with Greg, David Starr, Joey Gase. Like, these guys aren't moving up through the field. These guys are way too expensive here. We get to Ryan Ellis, but you look at what Ellis did last week and where he falls in line, like even 51, good Lord mighty. I don't know if he's going to get to 26 points to make that, viable. We get to BJ McLeod, which, you saw in my racing reference going through, just seeing like, well, where's NBM running? Where are these guys? Like, oh man, dude, these guys are so slow. And so like, I don't even want to be in the 5K range, man. When we look at like the only viable people at the bottom of this race or in the salaries, and even Poole, last week, great example. Poole did exactly what he's going to do. Started, let's see. We look at Poole last week, great example. Starts 27th. Oh my God, right in line of where he's at in terms of speed in a race that, is not going to get crazy, not going to have yellows, where, he runs better in intermediates. That's where he's going to be at Pocono. Starts 27th last weekend, finishes 26th, starts 30th this weekend, probably going to finish like 27th to 25th. Unplayable. Like I cannot see how he gets higher than that. Okay. So like when we start looking at the absolute bottom value, and like if we have to be in this range or whatever, there's like two plays. One would be Balicki at 56, who had a voltage issue last weekend at Pocono, which is a shame because we weren't able to see where he was at. We look at Weatherman and we can, kind of put Balicki kind of where Weatherman was at, and that's fine. And then the other one would be, like the cheapest value to possibly fit in like raw points, and that'd be Ryan Ellis at 51 because he's a much better play than BJ McLeod. That's a build that goes like Ryan Ellis, Austin Hill, Cole Custer, Chandler Smith. Like you're just paying up for, the top tier teams, and that's where you're at, or you're getting to Parker Kligerman. And so like I have no idea how this race plays out if it doesn't go that way. Because of that, like I am conflicted on how many lineups to play, because I have like 3 lineups that are like the projected best plays based on my stuff, and everything past that is like obliterated. Like they're based on the other stuff, there's like no other viable plays. Like Sammy Smith at 82, does it even matter what he does? He's at 82. When we start comparing him to where other people will be scoring in terms of fantasy points, like Sammy Smith can get it done at like a 4.8 value, you know? So, I mean, that's where I'm at. So, just highlighting, like, realistically speaking, man, like, these are the plays that are, like, in play here, not Parker. Um, let's see. We got Balicki. We got Ryan Ellis. Like, welcome to purgatory. Like, where do you even go? Where else is this race going if these guys aren't the ones competing to either be the best value plays and Parker? Like, how does this race play out? And even still, like, these guys are not hitting value. They're just finishing in the top 10. Like, I think this is going to be an extremely, extremely low scoring slate. And even straight up, I have my issues with Parker Kligerman. Like, I have a lot of concern with Kligerman. Okay. Let's think this through with Kligerman here. Race goes green, starts tail of the field, whatever. They repaired the car, everything. First 3 laps are just making sure that, like, hey, Parker, how's it working? He comes out of 4, like on lap 5. Kligerman's in 33rd. Okay. The fucking leader, Cole Custer's midway down the back straightaway by this point. Okay. We get to lap 10 in this race. Kligerman might be 29th, 30th if we're lucky. And he's like 3/4 of a lap behind Cole Custer. Okay. So we in the stage, Kligerman is like 29, 28th. We go into pit lane. They make adjustments. Parker's like, hey guys, this thing's kind of pushing a little bit. Gonna get a wet adjustment. He leaves pit lane. Parker leaves pit lane in like 32nd. Okay. We go on the restart, maybe able to make some moves. And he's like slowly moving up to like 28th, 27th, 26th, 25th. We end stage 2. Kligerman's in like 25th, 24th. Unless things are like getting super crazy and these guys can get off sequence and stuff, like even Kligerman is like a wildly risky play here. So like going back to the fork in the road, I think the only way to play this slate is to just fit in like as many guys in the 8 and 7K range as possible. That's Kligerman, that's Joe Graff Jr., that's Sammy Smith, that's Chandler Smith. Hey, man, maybe we play a little value and we play Jesse Love at like 96, and we just try and get as many of like the RCR, Joe Gibbs, top 15 teams as possible, and then just let the chips fall where they land. Like I have no idea how this race plays out. If like if Jones stays in the top 7 all day, I mean he's gonna be optimal. Like Carson Hocevar, Herbst, like a lot of ifs, ands, and buts. I just don't see how this race plays out if it's anything but like straightforward and crazy. So I'm like, do I just enter my 2 lineups based on what they're saying because everything else is like not even close to competing? with him. That is the predicament for this slate for me. And I past that, I have like no opinions whatsoever. Like that is my only take on this race at all. Maybe you guys have other stuff. Maybe you're like in the same predicament and stuff. But there are so many people projected to do so piss poor in this race, and there's so many people in highlighted in blue that might not even be a great play. I mean, that's where I'm at. Like, how does Cole Custer not win this race? It's his to lose, right? Like, this is crazy. Crazy. Let's see. So like, we'll talk about SVG here. Like, I don't know what we get out of Shane here. He starts 23rd. First time, I mean, this is a difficult track for anybody, right? First time here, arguably the most difficult track he's ever seen. Never even been anything near, like, and I know he takes practice and he's just there, but like, this is where SVG is on intermediates. He's starting 23rd. Like, it could be in play. Like, I'm not saying, like, I'd much rather be getting to Shane over like other dumbass plays like Connor, or like, oh, do I play Kyle Weatherman or AJ Allmendinger? Like, 7K range is going to be there. Like, AJ, I'm personally not going to play AJ. I mean, I think he scores closer to like 23 points. Like, I gave him like 20th, he starts getting slightly more than that. He's scoring like, oh my God, man, really bringing it home. This guy's finishing 18th with like 29 points, I don't know, man. I just don't know how he's scoring like over 33 in this race. There's so many bad plays, and maybe not even bad plays. There's so many people similar. And what is like the true average mean of like everybody's projection here in this race? Like, I have the average projection between all 38 cars. I have it at 29.4. I mean, this is so low. This is crazy. This is crazy. So Joe Graff Jr., have we, I don't know if you've Joe Graff Jr. in a Joe Gibbs car. Let's go ahead and review what happened last year. I don't know if you must not be familiar with our Lord and Savior, Joe Graff Jr. All righty then, Joe Graff Jr. Here we are. If Racing Reference wants to load. Luckily, we have a fantastic sample size of where Joe Graff Jr. is in terms of fantasy, because the sumbitch has been in this Joe Gibbs car at 7K, and we can very easily see how this motherfucker performs in the top echelon equipment. And it is very disappointing. We look at last year's race. 11th Fontana, 15th Las Vegas, Rector at Richmond, 29th at Loudon, 9th at Kansas, 10th at Homestead. He is starting 17th today. Actually, where did he start in these races? Let's see. Starts 11th, 19th, 15th, 17th, and 14th. So, identical Joe Graff Jr. performance in Q, starting 17th at $7,500. We look at where he's at in terms of speed, and my God, the boy is 22nd in average. We look at where he's at in terms of 5-lap average. My God, the sumbitch is in 18th. So, like, when we get to Joe Graff Jr., like, this is a horrendous slate. I mean, this is wild. And he's highlighted as my guy because if Joe Graff, if he just shows up in the Joe Gibbs car and, like, has an ounce of, like, talent and brings that thing home 14th, like, I think he can bring it home. I think you can look at Joe Graff Jr. being optimal at like 32 points, depending. Like, as I said, when we look at how this race plays out, Joe Graff Jr., based on my stuff, ends up being one of the better fantasy point per dollar plays at $7,500, just due to the fact that he's outscoring like 22 cars, like that in this race. So, the Kligerman stuff, like if you're playing Kligerman, you go 85. If you are not playing Kligerman, you have to think about what that does to the slate. So that says if Kligerman either runs an issue, doesn't work, which yet again, my stuff's saying play Kligerman. I I don't even know what lines. How many lines do I want to run? Guess we're gonna do 3. Holy shit! So if Kligerman runs into it, like if he runs into an issue, what does that mean in terms of the slate? And yet again, this is assuming that Cole Custer wins this race, or at least is the highest scoring guy on the slate. Because if he's not, like I said, I have no idea how this race plays out. And actually, wow. That contest just looks like I'm just rolling 2 lineups. Because I don't want to enter more. What does that do to the slate if he doesn't work? If Kligerman is not optimal today at 8,000 or 85, that's showing that it's most likely leaning towards two things. One, Sammy Smith and or Riley Herbst are outscoring him, and or Chandler Smith is outscoring him, which Chandler Smith can work with Kligerman or not, or it means that a lot of the 7K range is coming through. Ryan Sieg, Joe Graff Jr., SVG, Jeb Burton, Brandon Jones, like whatever. And so if you're not playing Kligerman today, I think you would want to absolutely build a hellacious, balanced build lineup with multiple 7K guys. Like that is the direct counter to Kligerman working. Is building around 7K guys. And possibly Austin Hill and Allgaier working, because if you're losing an 8K guy, and this is assuming we're not leaving a ton of salary on the table, then that means if we're getting close to like 49, 40, 48, or 49.9, 49.8, 49.6, 49.7, that means we're probably using a lot of the salary, so we're probably then getting to Austin Hill and Allgaier in these lineups, Sammy Smith and Chandler Smith, Jesse Love, and I mean this is such a wild slate. I have no clue how to even target this stuff. But those are my takes. That is where I'm at. Let me see where you guys are at here. If you play 20 lineups, you guys have got to stop asking me these 20 lineup maxes, because I am going to get you guys in so much trouble. Like, I don't give a shit about my own personal ownership and stuff. Like, this is a race where here, I'll even show you. See if Sabersim has stuff out yet. Because like I said, this is a race of like I don't even know how Cole Custer isn't optimal today. Like I don't even know how that happens. So like I would probably be having a absolute metric shitload of Cole Custer today. And like past that, I have no idea. I probably Chandler Smith will be the next highest owned guy. I have no idea. Kligerman, my stuff is saying he works at like finishing like 28th. Like the some bitch is, I mean, maybe not like that, but like, I have him for whatever I said. 37 points. Like that's crazy. That's insane. So I don't know. Go all in on him. Why not? It's showing Kligerman works. I don't know. That's where I'm at. Like, does anybody, I mean, we talk about SVG, but like, does anybody I have not highlighted, like, how do they realistically work? Like, how do they even get there? I can't comprehend that. I have no freaking clue how that works. No idea. No clue how it works. Because if we look at Pocono and just the starting grid, right? It is, I mean, we're going to have some guys start farther back, but like there's Cole Custer. Here's Herbst, who ran top 10 all day until he spat on pit lane. Okay. We have Eric Amarola, Joe Gibbs, whatever. We have Sam Mayer. We have Anthony. We have Jones. Carson, which that's not going to be viable. We have Allmendinger. We have Allgaier. We have Barry, who poor guy blew a tire last week. These clowns who don't know what they're doing. We have Jet Burton. We have Creed. Like, how do these, like, even Chandler Smith, like, like, where do these guys even fall in line? Where do these guys find speed? Connor Daly, his best hope is he performs like Corey Haim. And that's like a position higher. Truex struggled last week in getting through the field. That's where Joe Graf Jr. is. Like, I am absolutely just building off of the projections today. And like, so I'm not building a lot of different lineups. I'm not 20 maxing. I'm not doing stuff because I just don't know how to even build if my stuff doesn't work today. I cannot even fathom how that is even comprehensible. You would have to have an absolute massive, gigantic pileup that takes out the top half of the field. It's crazy. Like Perkins, Leland, Garrett, Smithley, all starting inside the top 20, eliminates 4 value plays right off the bat. I don't know. That's where I'm at today. That's where I'm at. We're 45 minutes away from lock. I don't know if you guys have, like, do you guys have any different takes? Are you guys running the same issue that I'm seeing or that I'm running into? I just don't see how it happens in this race at all. Custer said, yeah, so this is where I'm at, Sterling. This is it. Hopefully Deegan goes in the 98 car next year in Xfinity. And then after that, it's just, that's it. And the expectation is not to go out and win races because even Herbst doesn't do that. Just finish 7th all day. This is the, it's sink or swim for Haley Deegan next year, okay? You either run identical to Herbst or it's over, So I think that's the best thing for Deegan to run into. I think that is it. Yeah, so I mean, it seems like a balanced type of day, and that's where I'm at. Sieg best play, yeah, probably, and like, what the? I went back, like, what the fuck happened to Ryan? What are these clowns doing? I mean, he finishes 12th, but like, what kind of idiots are on these pit boxes, man? That is one of the best runs Sieg has had consistently, and it's like thrown away at the end of the race. Like, what are they doing? We haven't seen in a long time, but boy, it would not shock me to see this RSS team be like, you know what we're going to do to gain track position? We're going to put on 2 tires. Or you know what? We're just going to stay out like we used to and wreck the field. Like, that is like the sheer incompetence that we are getting back to for Ryan Sieg and this team. It is crazy with how fast they are. And like Barry, let's see, Barry's 18th best on average. We kind of skedaddle through his lap times. And I mean, this car is also just slow. This car is very, very slow. So what do I got? Barry. What am I giving Barry at? All right. Bringing it home, I got Josh Berry wheeling it to a 12th place finish today. That's where I got him, Sterling. But anyway, I mean, nobody's really saying anything different from what I'm saying. Or answer me this, like what happens? Like how like I don't even know how this race plays out if everything identified here is not the case. Because I feel like this covers enough outs that like you could have wrecks like, hey, you know what? Outside of like Cole Custer, like you have any of these individuals crash today or run into an issue or underperform, I mean, this is a lot of outs. We are at like 15 guys highlighted that their outcome doesn't even really matter in this race. If they overperform, that's unlikely. If they do what they normally do, they're not in play. If they wreck out, they're not in play. I just cannot fathom how this race is not just on these guys. I just don't get it. Let's see. Let's see. I don't know. I just like that Josh Berry thing. Like, go back and just find things to talk about. Like, if we look back at what good old Brett Moffitt used to do, and I have no clue what races he was in, so I apologize. We just have to find Brett Moffitt somewhere, and I really don't want to search for him. Please just show up, Brett Moffitt, please. Big sad. Did he run Texas? Let's find Brett Moffitt. Because Brett Moffitt is what, where this car falls in line at. Brett Moffitt, where you at? So we see, what did Brett Moffitt do last year in this car? And I would use this as a 1-to-1 identical of what we would expect Josh Berry to do. So if we just look back at last year, which goes up to, wow, this guy really did run the whole year. Am I just blind? Totally forgot that. 15th, 20th, 35th. Actually, we'll look at intermediates. Crashed out. 24th, 10th, 7th, 25th. I mean, I think 12th today is like a pretty decent area for Berry. Not in play DFS, Performs any worse, it doesn't really matter. We don't see him competing for, top 10 today. Like that's probably where Berry's going to fall in line at. Why are we even talking about Berry? We're not playing Berry anyway. I saw what you messaged me, Sterling, but just talking to the chat out loud, like why is Berry even a discussion today? What is going on? Like if I'm in the 8K range, brother man, I'm getting the Chandler Smith. Brother man, I'm getting the Sammy Smith. I would not be playing Berry here. Let's see. Thank you, James. Really insightful information. A guy that I have projected as the race winner could absolutely kill me if he doesn't win the race. Okay, we'll look at Daniel Dye. So 22nd. See where he's at there. 20th, 17th. So what I've been doing with Daniel Dye is, what do I got Daniel doing? Let's see. Dude, I just don't see it, man. Finished 17th last week at Pocono, 20th at Dover, 24th at Texas. And we see where he's running in these races. And then we look at the practice speed, not due to averages, but just compared to where, okay, envision. We understand where, the expectation of where people are going to be in the top 10, top 20, whatever. Does this look like a top, 15 car speed? I just don't see that. We compare him with where his teammate is at, and AJ's running way, way faster times, man. Even when they put the new tires on, AJ's running 164, 163s. He's at 162. At least he's consistent 163 here. But that's huge, man. If you're 7/10 a second and a half off here, you're just gonna be stuck running, in between anywhere from 16th to 23rd today. So I would just personally not be getting to Daniel Dye as well. But anyway, those are my takes. I have no clue what happens if my stuff is wrong. It'll just be a disaster of epic proportions. I will absolutely be finishing last in the contest today. There's no way in hell that's not the case if anything but what I think happens. So I'm just defaulting to the projections. If you have them, if you have a subscription stuff, sort that shit by highest projected lineups, and those are the builds I'm running today. I just cannot see other stuff there. And I mentioned, if you do that, because I mentioned, the BJ McLeod, I'm not playing BJ. We're seeing BJ McLeod lineups in there. I'm not doing that. I would default to Ryan Ellis if you want to punt in the 5K range. But look, those are the builds I'm running today, or the lineups I'm running today, rather. And that's basically it. I will see you guys tomorrow. Austin Hill to the rear. Did I have him in a lineup? I don't even think I did today. So that really doesn't affect me. Doesn't really change anything. Didn't have Austin Hill as a lap leader. I don't really expect him to get a lot of fast laps. I just have him being there at a raw finish position of like 8th. That's kind of like at 42 points anyway. Might as well not even worry about the projection. Don't really see need to change that. So like, I don't think it really changes anything. Maybe lower him a little bit if you had him. It might be detrimental to him in the long run. Like long run in the race. Like Austin Hill will be coming to play at like lap 78. And if Austin Hill is not in a position of like 12th by lap 78, I just don't think we got to worry about him at all. And worry about him in a sense of like scoring near that 42 points, finishing around this range here. If he's not, here at like lap 78, he does not have a chance to even do that. So I'd probably, lower Austin Hill stuff. I guess that increases. Like if you had Austin Hill to begin with because you could just afford him. So I guess that throws people to just Allgaier more. It throws people to Parker Kligerman more. I think that would just lead to like, hey, let's just stay balanced then. Don't even worry about the 10-5 guy. So that's where I'm at. Cole Custer, I don't know how you lose this, man, but you better believe I'm going to be so disappointed in SHR if Cole Custer loses this race. It's his to lose. Insane. I am going to be baffled. Absolutely baffled. And I'm going to be even more baffled if it's not Herbst. Like I think that's his closest rival. Because man, Allgaier has such a far way to go. Yeah, I don't know. I'm playing based on whatever my numbers tell me to do. So best of luck, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Creed to the rear too. Wasn't playing Creed. He's 93. Doesn't change anything. Like, oh man. Thanks, Sterling. And I know James isn't doing that. I was just saying, like, I was, giving James a hard time, like, yeah, he could burn you, like, you know how it is. James is a good guy. He's in here a lot. I'm not talking shit to you, James. I will touch on this, Jason. Okay, so the Cole Custer Riley Herbst build is one that is ranked very high in my stuff. However, I'll tell you right now, I got Herbst for 5 laps led, 9 fast laps, finishing 5th today, I think. That's 43.1 points. Laps led, pretty iffy on that. Not very confident in that. 9 fast laps, second in line, probably second fastest. I think that's 10% of the laps, right? Seems a bit extreme, but that's 9 laps. And if Cole Custer is the fastest guy, he's going to probably be scraping most of them. As I said, the 1-to-1 is probably going to be closer in this race. That's at 41 points. Projection-wise, I think it works. In like practical matters as a viable lineup, I would probably recommend not playing that combination. That's a situation where I come in and I'm like, look at that build, and I'm like, I don't think that's viable. Despite the projections saying that it's a higher rated lineup, I just don't think I'd probably do that. Because especially if Herb starts scoring better than like 42 points, that means he's most likely leading the race. And he's most likely, like, that's a situation where Cole Custer is probably not working in fantasy. So if you have interest in Riley Herbst, I think you don't play Cole Custer. And I don't think you play him for like at the initial start either. Like, I think Riley Herbst would then work out as like leading off a pit lane at the end of stage 1, into stage 2. Cole Custer speeds on pit lane. It is not a like. I think Cole Custer leads at the start of the race regardless. I don't think that's the start of the race battle that Herbst wins. I think that's Cole runs into issues. Then a Herbst line would start being more and more viable. But that's my take there. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Best of luck, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow.